Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the finale, thankfully, finally, finale of She-Hulk. Oh boy. Watching She-Hulk, this episode here, just underscores, in relative terms, how good Werewolf by Night was. I know I didn't do a review of Werewolf by Night. I think that's been covered, and probably better than I could, by people who know the classic monster films better than I do, but Werewolf by Night was enjoyable. It felt like an issue of a comic book. It was very self-contained, very entertaining, cheesy in all the right places, and it really shows what you can do with these comic book characters if you care something about the source material and have a love for the genre it represents. That's not the case with the people who made She-Hulk. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, before I get there, who's joining me this morning, this wonderful, beautiful morning, for the final episode, hopefully they don't do a season 2, of She-Hulk. Noah Asensio, Hate Camel, Brittany Holland, Mike Savage, Cultist 4, Officer Buck Tud Russell, and Robert Pincus. Good morning. So, the episode starts out with both the most clever and most self-deserving idea that they've done yet in the show. They do a shot-for-shot recreation, effectively, of the original Hulk, Incredible Hulk television show starring Bill Bixby. But they have meticulously recreated everything and put Jennifer Walters in the spot. And as I was watching this, I was like, that's actually really clever. That's really sweet. That's like an artifact of someone who has an appreciation for the source material almost. At the same time, I thought to myself, this just reminds me how terrible this show is, because a television show from 40 years ago, or whatever, individually is better than this entire series. with lower grade special effects, but better acting, better music, better pathos, the whole 9 yards. So, as I say, it was both the most clever and most damaging part of the entire episode, if not the whole series. So yeah, they make it all film grainy. It looks very dated. It's all squared off, 3-4 ratio or whatever, 4-3, whatever it is. And yeah, they have the clothes right. I remember seeing a promotional picture of her and Mark Ruffalo dressed up in very dated clothing, and I didn't quite get it, but now I do. And yeah, they have her out in the rain screaming and everything, and her eyes turning green in the old-fashioned ways, and they have an actress painted green as the Hulk, which is what they should have done from the beginning. But anyway, yeah, and they get the old... Oh, and they even have the old computer. Yeah, Intelligentsia, Hulk King, She-Hulk is stupid. Enter your reply. You're stupid. And there you go. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And I obviously cannot fall on the frame. Well, actually, maybe I can. After she says that, Mark Ruffalo, standing there with his hair all permed up and everything, just kind of looks off to the side, sad and dejected. And he really is the audience of this show at that point. He really is. So yes, it's the Savage She-Hulk. Now see, I would have watched that show. That would have been something. If they tried to recreate a 70s aesthetic for She-Hulk and done a one-off, kind of like Werewolf by Night, that would have been a heck of a lot more entertaining than the 9 episodes of this turkey they put together. But instead, we then are yanked right back into the reality of this show. And what is the reality of this show? Well, now Jennifer Walters, for reasons that make absolutely no sense, is now in the Supermax supervillain prison. Why is she in the Supermax supervillain prison? Well, we find out that she scared a bunch of people when she smashed through a wall. Remember the end of the last episode? Where she had her Tinder history and the little non-explicit sex tape come up, and she lost her cool and smashed through a wall. And then, inexplicably, all those guys with laser guns showed up out of nowhere that were totally expecting a super villain event to happen somehow. Right then, at that moment. Yeah, anyway, so apparently that was enough to send her to super jail. Why did that send her to super jail? Why didn't destroying the parking garage send her to super jail? Why didn't throwing the $500,000 car send her to super jail? Why didn't anything else throughout the course of this series where she causes property damage to some great degree send her to super jail? All of a sudden, she's sent to super jail because of that incident. Okay. Well, anyway, she's all up on, we need to identify every individual who hacked my private information. Okay, well, except for the sex tape, all of your information was already public because of the trademark dispute where you had to share your dating history and the witnesses there too to prove that you called yourself She-Hulk. I mean, I didn't look and zero in on every single little piece of information that they were showing on the screen in the last episode, but all that they mentioned was her dating history and the sex tape. And I got called to task, and perhaps rightly so, from the last review where I complained about how everything on the screen was public information that shouldn't set her off. And I had several people say, well, hey, wait a second. If somebody showed a private sex tape or something on the screen in front of your family, your friends, your colleagues, and everything else, that'd set anybody off. I'm like, okay, all right, conceded, mea culpa. I'll concede that. But at the same time, the reaction by the public, the reaction by the authorities, as compared to anything else that she did, for this to be the outcome? Okay. And also, and I know, I'm just nitpicking here, but even if it's a legitimate cause for someone to lose their cool, that they have a sex tape show up, they're betrayed, etc. Okay, all right. Do they make any mention from here on out about her amazing ability to control her emotions and her anger? No. No, it just doesn't come up. No sympathy for Bruce after that. No mention of how, gosh, I guess maybe being a Hulk sometimes can let you get out of control and maybe it's not all just Zen or something. No. But anyway, so she wants to find the people who hacked her information. And all of her friends show up and are like, okay, we need to discuss your case. And I'm like, which one? Is it the millions of dollars of damage caused to the parking garage and the car, all the other injuries and things, the wedding venue, any of that stuff? No. This was a targeted attack. They must be held responsible for this. Yeah, they should. They should be held responsible for that. Should you be held responsible for your actions? No? Okay. She won't be. I was angry. Yes, you were angry. And perhaps justifiably so. And so, which is how anyone would respond in that situation. But Mallory rightly points out, you're not just anyone, you're an out-of-control Hulk. Any sympathy for Cousin Bruce? Anything like, gosh, maybe this is what Bruce felt like? Anything at all? No, it's still just about her. Still just about her. The DA won't file charges related to the incident. Then what's the problem? What are you talking about? What's the case then? If she's not going to file, if the DA is not going to file charges, then what's the point? We have an offer for a plea deal. Well, if you have a plea deal, that means they filed charges. You're going to be convicted of something. You're pleading down to a lesser charge. So charges have been filed. Am I taking crazy pills here? I'm not a lawyer, but what are we talking about? But we have to remind ourselves, the writer's room have no experience writing any kind of legal drama or legalese, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised at this point. Anyway, the DA won't file any charges, but she'll file charges and hold it to a plea deal. And that plea deal includes wearing an ankle bracelet. So this is an ankle bracelet. This is something that is meant to suppress her powers. And I'm thinking, well, if you've got the technology to suppress superpowers just on hand like that, well, I guess this is what was used on Blonsky. So then I have to assume this was designed by Bruce Banner. Anyway, they put an ankle bracelet on her that's supposed to prevent her from using her powers. So now she's just Jen Walters. It's not like that could be easily removed or anything. It's just, okay. Seemed more like an excuse to not have to spend any money on more CGI for the episode. Until we get to the point where they have to spend a lot of money on CGI for the episode. But anyway, she gets an ankle bracelet. Does that mean she's under house arrest? Does that mean she's under like some kind of restriction of movement or anything? As we'll find out, no. It's just, you're not allowed to become She-Hulk anymore. I guess. And we're letting you out. To the custody of your family. Also, you're fired from your job. Okay, so she busts down one wall in a show where she's busted down much larger things, but now she loses her job, she's now restricted from using her superpowers, and she's not facing any charges. What happened to the guy that she grabbed at the end of the last episode, the guy with the camera? Was he in on it? Or was he just a guy there at the party? Or what happened there? We never find out. That never comes up again. Anyway, so she's losing her job, and then the news starts reporting, and it says, the female cousin of the Hulk, popularly known as She-Hulk. The female cousin of the Hulk? Is that how people talk? The female cousin of the Hulk? Anyway, the end of She-Hulk! Oh my gosh, she's going through this Gala-gate. She busted through a wall and held a guy up. Who is that guy? What happened to him? Was he in on the whole hacking thing? Don't know. We never find out. It's okay. Whatever. Anyway, so now we have the press outside of Jen's house. Were they outside of her house when she first came out as She-Hulk? I can't even remember at this point. But anyway, the press are outside her house. Do you care to comment about losing your superpowers? Well, she didn't lose her superpowers. She just has a inhibitor on. Which I thought was kind of public knowledge, but now I guess it is really public knowledge, or anyway, so yeah, she doesn't have her superpowers, but she does. Then we're back at the family dinner table. I'm just going through this because this episode doesn't matter. This entire series doesn't matter, and this episode tells us so. So there's really no reason to go through any of the dialogue because it is all moot by the end of the episode. Anyway, she's talking at the family dinner. I don't remember any of these characters' names. We see them so infrequently, and they have such little to do with the story. All I know them is dad and mom and relative. And that's it. Anyway, so now Jen is living at home, I guess. Is she in her parents' custody? Is she housebound? Is she under house arrest? Well, as I say, as we'll find out later, no. So what happened to her apartment? She's just left her apartment because the press was there? So now the press aren't going to follow her to her parents' house if that's what she's doing? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so she loses her apartment. I guess she's moving out because... reasons? I don't understand. I don't understand now. I didn't understand when I was watching the episode. Like, she lost her job. Why? She's losing her apartment. Why? I don't know. But yeah, the press follows them to her house. So what was the point of that? Anyway, she moves back into her old room, which is full of like, oh, look, girly lawyer things like Legally Blonde and Erin Brockovich. Those are my role models when I was growing up. And oh boy, remember, I'm in California. I'm in California and stuff, I guess. Anyway, I'm sure there are some Easter eggs back here somewhere for like Marvel Comics or something. Anyway, so in the meantime, she and Nikki have set up a conspiracy board with red string and everything, trying to identify. So now their big thing is to find out who's Intelligentsia. Who's after me? Who could this be? Who's got a whole bunch of money to spend on things like this? That we didn't know had a bunch of money. And obviously is a creepy guy about She-Hulk. Until last episode. Anyway, the dialogue in this sequence is so riveting. It is exposition dumped on us like ham hocks. But it also has one of the biggest you have to be kidding me moments in the thing. So anyway, okay, what have you got for me? Finding the identity of these guys has been a dead end. Really? You don't have any suspects in the course of this whole thing? You can't think of anybody who might be creepy enough and have the financial means with which to do something like this in this entire story so far? Okay. We know that Hulk King is admin on Intelligentsia. Yeah, well, I think we figured that out the first time that we saw the thing. But look at all this information. Traced phone calls. They traced phone calls? How? Whose phone calls? What? Who? Lion Day One. What does this mean? By using fake identities, they are able to create an illusion of support for ideas. They are also able to challenge ideas on social media platforms by instantly something. Yeah, so basically this is one big, oh, trolls suck. We're going to analyze trolls, guys. Okay, well anyway, I've looked into the platform and it's owned by several shell companies. Really? Huh. Well, that is a level of research I had not attributed to you when you didn't trademark your superhero name, you didn't ask your client about the details regarding his supersuit before going to a hearing and onwards to a trial, purportedly, in order to sue for manufacturer malfeasance. But all of a sudden, Jennifer Walters is super sleuth. Several shell companies, Which, how am I supposed to sue these guys if I don't know who they are? I don't know. I mean, is there any legal precedent for suing a shell company? In this entire world, in the history of jurisprudence, has there ever been a situation where someone has had to try to file legal action against a corporate entity whose owners might be slightly obfuscated by legalese? Is there any way to do that? I don't know. I'm sure it has never come up in the course of the law. So I don't know. Jen Walters, expert attorney. I guess you're just out of luck. How are you supposed to do that? Okay, look. Intelligentsia is made up of exclusively dumb dudes. Yeah, they're so dumb that expert sleuth attorney Jen Walters can't figure out who to sue. I guess. All right, well, that's your advantage. They're dumb dudes. One of them will slip up. Then we will find them and we will destroy them by any and all means. Oh, okay, that's how that works. Thank you, Sarah Chapman, for the #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowie, wow, wow.
Yeah, a very brief wowie wow wow from Ranting Monkey. So thank you, Sarah. Any and all means, says Nikki. Here it comes. Here comes the big kicker here. Can I fall in the frame? Legally, says Jen. Legally. Okay. And Nikki's like, I said by any and all means. And Jen says, no, I am going to sue them for defamation and invasion of privacy and get them charged with unauthorized access to a protected computer. Ugh, boring, says Nikki. If you want to be all Jen Walters about it, that's cool. Ah, yes, we know the standard called Jen Walters, don't we? Yes, Jen Walters, who couldn't prosecute or defend a case to save her life. Jen Walters, who took a demon baby thing and threatened a respondent in a case she was involved in to settle with her lest she unleash the demon physically upon them. The Jen Walters who has no faith in the police, so she didn't call them when she was assaulted in an alley by guys with super weapons. And again, the Jen Walters who doesn't have the wherewithal to interrogate her client prior to going to a hearing on a manufacturer malfeasance case. But yes, no, the Jen Walters standard is to operate by the law, by the rules. I guess, according to Nikki. Anyway, Nikki is just in love with Jen's mom, because Jen's mom gives her food and snacks and things. Did you bring me cookies? Says Nikki. Oh, yeah, I did. And then the plot device that appears out of nowhere, almost like it was put in through bad writing. You also might get a kick out of this video that Jen and her friends put together in college. And it shows Jen Walters dancing around her dorm room in short shorts and booty shaking. And Jen's like, Mom, don't show that. Out of the blue for no particular reason at a very awkward time to do so. And then Nikki's like, send me that video, Mom. And Mom's like, already did. And then Jen starts dressing down her mother, not literally, thankfully, about just being in her own home. Once I get justice for what's happened, I can't do that if you're hovering. Yes, why bother with your mother being concerned about your welfare in her own home, and she just walked in the room to give you guys cookies, but now she's like suffocating you. Anyway, so now Nikki has a copy of this video of Jen dancing around in her college dorm. Remember that, because that's important. Then Nikki has a video coming up on TV where Dennis Bukowski, remember him? Because he disappeared after what, episode 2, I think? He goes on the news telling some story about how he and Jen dated for a significant amount of time. And she was crazy even before she became a Hulk. Oh, sorry, she was psycho way before she got those superpowers. So remember, guys, Dennis is a bad guy. He's a jerk. Like most men. Most men are jerks. Unless you're a complete subservient. Then you're not so much a jerk, but you're just, a beta male. Stuff. Anyway, so Mom is like, Jennifer, can you move a big bookcase for me? Mom, I don't know if you missed the part where she's not allowed to use her superpowers anymore. She actually has a device on her ankle that prevents her from doing so. So her, doing superpower stuff is kind of like violating the terms of her plea agreement, even though she had no charges levied against her by the DA. You know how that works? Yeah, so anyway, I think I want it closer to the window. No! Well, you don't have to say no because you can't use your power. Anyway. Oh, that's right. You can't be Girl Hulk anymore. It's She-Hulk, Mom. Or was. Which I know is what I said I wanted, but this doesn't feel right. Yeah, this whole thing doesn't feel right. This whole thing feels like the writers, such as they are, put themselves into a corner. Where do you go with this story at this point? What do you do with a character who has spent the entire series not wanting to be a superhero, crapping all over the superheroes and superpersons that she's come across in general, as well as those who, saved all of reality in the Infinity War? What do you do with this person who, at no point, has ever taken it upon herself to take the initiative to do any superheroing? She's had to be called in to do these things. She's had to be nagged into doing anything that even comes close to being a superhero. But yes, which I know is what I said I wanted, but this doesn't feel right. Actually, this feels completely in line with every other piece of story logic in this series, but whatever. Anyway, we're breaking the fourth wall now. This isn't even a reluctant superhero story. It's not? I thought that was the whole... You told us yourself you didn't want to, and that when you got your super suit from the clothing designer, you're never going to use it anyway. Okay, and you've done nothing but try to argue against being a superhero, wanting everybody to love you for you and not for She-Hulk, even though the only difference between you and She-Hulk is aesthetics, because you're the same personality, but okay. Anyway, so this isn't a reluctant superhero story. Oh, okay, what is it? Suddenly, the narrator from the 70s remake thing comes up, and she's like, no, not doing a narrator. Okay. So she texts Bruce, who's still out of contact because he's in outer space or something. So then she contacts Emil Blonsky, because he's the only other Hulk-type person that she knows, and someone who has been in her situation now, where she can turn into a big green thing, but now she's got an inhibitor on. And again, you would think that she's under house arrest or something. No. And she says, Emil, your offer's still good to stay for a few days? So she wants to go back to the Emil Blonsky commune of healing and everything. Okay. With all the minor supervillains. Again, you want to go stay at the place run by a guy who is a psychopathic mass murderer who almost tried to kill your cousin. Okay, all right. Still don't know how he's out of jail after killing so many people, but whatever. Anyway, so back at the office, the law office, you know, the law office where Jen lost her job, the law office where Jen lost her job, where Nikki's only job was being Jen's paralegal. Nikki is back in the office, using the office's equipment to upload a file to the Intelligentsia. She's uploading the video of Jen dancing in her college dorm to the Intelligentsia in order to fake her way into fame with the Intelligentsia. So she created an account, uploaded this video out of nowhere, and Hulk King is like, epic find! There's a private event tonight. You should come. Deets below. Wow, so these guys who set up several shell corporations to hide the identity of who they are in making Intelligentsia, a video shows up all of a sudden that nobody else has ever had before, and our leader here, I wish it was the leader, but it's not, is just like, hey, you should come to a thing where all of our faces will be revealed. Unknown person who I didn't even bother to vet in any way, shape, or form. Wow, this site really is run by dumb guys who have several shell corporations to hide their identity, who can't be found otherwise through any legal means. Well, how convenient that Mom shared a video with Nikki, who would then share this video with these guys, and who would then have absolutely no questions as to where it came from. I mean, why am I bothering asking these? I don't know. Anyway, so she gets an invite, but Hulk King obviously assumes that he's talking to a dude. So he's like, see you soon, bro. And Nikki's like, oh my god, I'm not a bro. What am I going to do? And she's like, Pug, I need a favor. Meanwhile, Jen is driving up to the Commune place. Okay. And she meets the wrecker guy, or Crusher, what the heck his name is. You know, one of the wrecking crew. By the way, what happened to the other members of the wrecking crew? Where did they get their magical weapons? Does any of this track at all? No? Okay, well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to the show, doesn't matter to me. Anyway, so Jen is going to stay in a guest room. Oh, and by the way, do we see any of the other supervillains that we saw in the previous episode? No. No, they're referenced slightly, but they're gone. I guess they're just not there anymore. The Eagle, Porcupine, the vampire guy, Saracen. Just, okay. So anyway, Jen is trying to read Emil Blonsky's book with a very badly photoshopped picture of Tim Roth's face on there, which is kind of funny, I guess. Deep haikus. We couldn't come up with something more clever or something more, punny, since you're the abomination. Like, I don't know. How about Obama musings or something? Or Hulk coups? Something? Anything? No? Okay, well, anyway. Or how about Abominations? Ooh, see? Abominations. That would have been a great title. Abominations. See? In 30 seconds, I can come up with something more clever for this show. Anyway, so she's done reading that book. Okay. What does that have to do with anything? I don't know. So these two pull up at some mysterious estate. Yes, some mysterious estate. I wonder what estate that could be. I wonder if, by any chance, in the course of her paralegal work with Jen, she might have an idea of the location that they have driven to, and the significance of the location they have driven to, and make a connection. 1 + 1 = 2. But she doesn't, because of course not. Anyway, she's like, Pug, you need to go in and mingle, okay? Because Pug is the super spy. Pug is going in as the dude bro. Find out all about these dweebs. Don't fret. I'll be on the phone with you. Yeah, because Pug couldn't possibly operate all by himself. No, he needs backup. Right? He's an idiot. Even though he was like defending a case in several episodes earlier and as a practiced lawyer of some kind, but never mind. Won't it look suspicious that I'm walking around with an earbud in? Have you been around for the last, 15, 20 years? Anyway, trust me, you're not the only one, okay? Oh, how do you know this? I mean, maybe it would be suspicious. I don't know. Do they have some kind of security policy? Like, leave your cell phone at the door or something? Or not, because they're so secretive, but that they're not secretive, that they'll invite a complete stranger? Kind of thing. Anyway, so Nikki somehow knows how these guys operate, even though she doesn't know who they are, but whatever. You have to, okay? You gotta blend in with these trolls. Yeah, the trolls. And remember to always refer to women as females. Something occurred to me just before I started the broadcast, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me before, and I'm sure several other people have said it previous, but I have to wonder if the writers of this show, if their sentiment, if their vision of anybody who might be critical of She-Hulk in the real world, if their entire idea of trolls is MGTOW. I mean, MGTOW doesn't come up that much anymore, men going their own way. Sort of a little society of He-Man women haters on the internet that were actually focused on that philosophy very specifically, and have pretty much fallen off the radar of most people these days because it was such a ridiculous and made fun of philosophy by most people. Yeah. It seems to me that the minds of the writers are stuck in the notion that anyone who is a troll, or they call a troll, or anybody who's a critic that isn't just fawning over anything that has to do with a empowered female character, is then a MGTOW. Right? So, anyway, that's what it feels like. We're going to a convention of MGTOWs. So I need you to get your head in the game, buddy. Sit your sweet ass down. Let me explain, says somebody in the room. And Nikki's like, stop stalling, all right? How do you know what he's doing? He's just standing there. Anyway, hey dudes, she just sucks, okay? Yes. Yeah, all these guys are here. Now, first off, I will at least give them credit for the diversity, equity, and inclusion of the male figures here. She-Hulk hate spans all demographics of men. But hey guys, she just sucks, okay? Yeah. No one's allowed to make jokes anymore. It's true. You're not allowed to make jokes. Have you seen things lately? Especially if it's like a joke. Okay, anyway, she's like, Pug, be gross. Come on, be a gross man. Gotta do something gross. And he's like, ugh, he grunts. And then this guy. Remember this guy? Mr. Scarf, Mr. Rich, Mr. Creeper? He recognizes Pug. Gosh, why is he here? What a shock, what a twist. This guy's here? This super rich guy who is creeping on She-Hulk the whole time? Oh my gosh, Mother Pugger. Man, of course you're one of us. And they hug. Yeah, wow, what a genius. He's not suspicious or nothing? Okay. And Pug is really happy to be there. Yeah, me too, so happy. And let's be honest, okay? He knows what I'm talking about. Is She-Hulk better than the Hulk? No, the guys say in unison. She wouldn't even have her powers without him, right? Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, dude. It's all nepotism. Pug, we are vibing, my man. What are we doing here? Thank you, Lissa Leo. Wow, the writing is really terrible. It sounds like it was written by a bunch of teenagers. Oh, just wait. Just wait. There's more. It's coming. It's coming. You think this is bad. Anyway, so, yeah, so basically, you're like, dude, I created Intelligentsia. I'm Hulk King. Oh my gosh. What a shocker. Now, even after all this time, does Nikki have any idea where she is? Does she have any idea the significance of the location she's in after being the paralegal with Jen Walters throughout this entire season? Nope. Anyway, so Todd gets up on the stage and is like, circle up, everybody. I'm really proud of us for hacking She-Hulk's phone. What did you get out of her phone? Honestly, I save for the sex tape, which wasn't on her phone, but was independently created. What was displayed on that screen that functionally was not already public knowledge? Right? Again, her dating history, her Tinder, whatever, dates, that was all part of the public record. I'm still confused. Save for the sex tape, what did they accomplish? Okay, they hacked her phone. But we also showed them that we're not just talk. Yeah, we're real action. And we're just getting started. Okay, and it's at this point that I'm thinking, who's the mastermind? Right? Because we saw that secret lab with the syringes. Remember, the Wrecking Crew was sent after She-Hulk specifically to try to take her blood with that syringe that didn't work. There's a whole, like, apparatus going on here. Okay? Who's the big bad guy? And I'm thinking there's only one big bad guy in this entire season. But I was wrong. I was wrong. As we'll find out momentarily. Anyway, Jen is still at the Commune, and she's in the kitchen with the Wrecking Crew guy. And she's like, I want some tea. And he's like, I'll make you some tea. This type of tea was recommended to me by the Saracen, but you gotta watch him because he likes to slip in chicken blood. And what does this have to do with anything? Nothing. This entire scene has nothing to do with anything. It's just stalling. With only one element necessary for the story. She's like, where's Emil? I want to talk to Emil about this. He's the only one who can understand my trauma, my pain, my situation where I'm not allowed to be a Hulk. You know, the multiple murderer caused a whole bunch of destruction, tried to kill my cousin, and is still a supervillain, and somehow he's out on the street. Anyway, I need to talk to Emil, and Guy here is like, oh, he's down at the lodge at some private event down there. Oh, I wonder what that could be. So, yes, Nikki and Pug and all the incel guys here are at Emil Blonsky's commune. retreat thing. And Nikki, who again has been alongside Jen throughout this entire season, throughout the court case with Emil Blonsky, with her having to go off and check that he didn't escape because his ankle collar thing stopped working, on and on and on. She didn't know where she was. No idea. At all. Couldn't make the connection. Like, golly gee, why am I at Emil Blonsky's estate? For the Intelligentsia thing. Anyway, so Todd's like, I would like to introduce our very special guest speaker. Oh, he's a guest speaker? He's not the mastermind? No. No, in fact, he's not. But, yeah, so anyway, I also want you to notice for a second the sleeves on this shirt. Just look at the sleeves on this shirt. Okay? Because we spent so much time in this series going over the wardrobe options of people who can turn into giant green things, and just how difficult it was to find clothing that could operate in both modes. I just want you to notice the sleeves here. Okay, I know. I wouldn't bring it up if the show hadn't. Anyway, so he comes up to do his speaking tour thing. And what is the voice coming out of this mouth? Is it the growly, apocalyptic, sneering, like, just of the Abomination as we knew him in the Incredible Hulk movie? No, it's just Tim Roth's voice. You know, it reminded me of, like, Mike Tyson's voice. You have this high-pitched, tinny, almost childlike tone coming out of somebody who looks like they should be like a big bruiser, and they are, but the voice doesn't match, so there was a bit of dissonance there. I don't know if you want to call it comedy, but yeah, anyway, he starts doing his, personal encouragement speech. Every single person seizing their goal, am I right? Yeah. And so then Jen walks up. Todd has told me that you were all unsatisfied with your place in the world. Todd has told you. Okay, yeah, so Abomination's not the mastermind of this. It's Todd. There's no leader behind this. There's no supervillain. There's no, I don't even know, like AIM? Like Advanced Idea Mechanics or something? There's no grand plan. There's no supervillain behind this entire plot. Even though you have the Abomination in there, and you have the Wrecking Crew with magical weapons that they just sort of found, I guess. And then there was that lab. But no, it's just Todd. It's just scarf-wearing Todd. Anyway, you're unsatisfied with your place in the world. Do not ask permission, they say. Do not ask permission. Yeah, that's an evil way to do stuff. Seize the day. Do not ask permission. Yeah. Be powerful. Yeah. Don't ask permission. Yeah. Because She-Hulk in the series has done everything about respecting other people and thinking ahead of time and... Anyway, so... You are the only boss. Yeah. Because we haven't heard that same sentiment from She-Hulk throughout this entire thing. Girl power. Anyway, so then Jen shows up at the lodge and is like, Emil, what's going on? And there are the sleeves again. You see that? You see how those sleeves were so, like, snug around those gigantic biceps? And now they're snug around Tim Roth's relatively skinny arm? How? Why isn't he wearing basically a ship sail? But we're not supposed to pay attention to that, I guess, because the clothing in this show was supposed to be so important, finding a good set of clothes that work both in human form and big form. But anyway, at least in the first episode or two, when the Abomination changed shape, like he busted out of his clothes and had to cover himself up afterwards. In this instance, I guess maybe he's got early access to unstable molecules from Reed Richards somehow. But anyway, so he's like, Jen, what are you doing here? And she's like, Emil, you've been transforming into the abomination? I vouched for you. Well, he's also under a legal restraint. You vouching for him has little to do with it. It wasn't your reputation that let him off. It was purportedly the law and the parole board. But you weren't a character witness for the guy. What are you talking about? You vouched for him. Was there a real apology in there that I missed? She says. I guess I missed that part. Because I can't fall in the... It's always about falling on the right frame, right? You transform the abomination. Yeah, I do speaking engagements. Nothing bad. But I thought you had your inhibitor thing on there that prevented you from changing into the abomination. So... Okay, anyway, well, he is a supervillain, so what do I do? And he says, strictly for profit, he does this speaking tour stuff. Well, why else would you do it? Just out of the own goodness of your heart or something? I'm sorry you're upset. And so that's where we get to the, was there a real apology in there that I missed? Well, he doesn't have to apologize to you. He's setting himself up to go back to jail. Because he's violating the terms of his parole. So... isn't that the threat that should be... And then Jen's like, Nikki, what are you doing here? And Pug is there. These guys are Intelligentsia! These are the guys! There's Todd! And Jen's like, you're Hulk King? To Todd? And Todd says, no doy. What happened to you guys were just so careful about hiding your identities, and now you're like, yeah, I'm taking total credit for it. And then he says, you think the sex tape was the worst part? I hired him, Josh, the guy who seduced her, I hired him to seduce you and steal your blood. And of course, she never noticed that she had like an injection wound or anything else on her after she woke up that next morning. Steal my blood? My team also synthesized your blood so it could safely give me all the powers of a Hulk. Yep. So, see, I didn't just get handed superpowers. I earned them. Yeah, and he injects himself with some stuff, and he starts turning into Todd Hulk. Yeah! Oh, look at that! Yeah! He's roiding out, dude! Yeah! Todd Hulk! And then suddenly, this can't possibly be where this season was going. Actually, this is exactly where the season was going. This is exactly what you set up throughout the entire show. You had some secret force out to get your blood to obviously turn the hulking stuff into some kind of weapon. That is where this season was going, apparently. Even though you don't explain the magical weapons, the rest of the wrecking crew, anything else. But yes, this is where the season was going. It's effectively the same plot of the original Hulk movie, where the leader, Samuel Stearns, not necessarily intentionally, but maybe intentionally, was using the Hulk's blood and analyzing it and trying to recreate it, and then turned into a monster. Yeah, it was the exact same thing. That's everything that every episode that even bothered to touch upon the overarching plot of the series was leading us towards. But now she's like, this isn't where this season could be going. And Todd's like, ooh, I'm buffed out. Yeah, boy, come at me, bro. And then all of a sudden, Titania shows up. Surprise, losers. So like the Kool-Aid man, she just busts through the wall, right? But see, now, this is the point at which I can't really criticize what's about to happen, or what's currently happening, because it is all a joke. I mean, this whole thing is a joke, but not a funny joke. Just a self-referential joke of, we have no idea what we're doing. Even with the utility of a fourth wall break type of thing, literally or figuratively here, we don't know what we're doing in trying to write ourselves out of this show. Thank you, tall person. Thanks, YouTube. Didn't get a notification until right now. Happy International Day for Disaster Reduction. Let's hope this doesn't get a season 2. We can only hope that it doesn't. But for the sake of perpetual comedy and groans, maybe it should. I don't know. But thank you, tall person. Yeah, YouTube has done both YouTube and Twitter have been doing a poor job for me too. Hashtag me too lately on notifications. Like, I had a whole bunch of DMs waiting for me yesterday. I had no idea they were there. Like, everybody who I invited to the 6th anniversary thing that couldn't make it sent me oh, I'm sorry, I missed this, da-da-da. I had no idea they were there for like a day. Really annoying. And YouTube? Oh, don't get me started. Here's something I need to mention. YouTube no longer alerts me to every comment I get on my videos. Like, I might get an alert for 1 or 2, but then when I actually go to my control panel and check out what comments have been posted on my videos lately, there's like dozens that I never even knew existed. Because I can't monitor every video I've got, etc. So, if you're not seeing me respond to your comments, either with a like or a little thumbs up or something, or a direct response, it's not because I'm ignoring my videos or the comments. I don't even know they're there until I go through the extra 7 steps of checking out the comments list. So anyway, but thank you, tall person, and boo on YouTube. Anyway, so Titania shows up. It's like, surprise, Zero Moon! And then Jen's like, Titania too? This isn't messy enough? And then Nikki's like, God, does that bitch ever use a door? Yes, we've seen her do so. Anyway, so then Emil picks up Jen to keep her out of the way of Todd. Because Jen still can't turn into She-Hulk because she has her ankle bracelet on. And then the Hulk shows up. He busts down through the ceiling. Let go of my cousin, asshole. And so they start fighting. And Jen's like, what is even happening here? And in my mind, I'm going like, this is a gag. This is bad writing. We don't know how to end this really thin and badly put together storyline we've created for this show, so we're just gonna go out with a joke rather than a bang, except for Daredevil. This is a mess. None of these storylines make any sense. Now, if this is self-deprecation on the part of the writers, I can give a little bit of credit, except for the fact they got paid for this actually got produced, and they seemingly are proud of themselves for this. None of these storylines, what storylines? This is the storyline. Anyway, none of these storylines make any sense. And then suddenly, we're at the Disney Plus menu. Oh my gosh, guys, we just broke through the 4th wall. What? What, you might say? And she's like, this menu is not going to stop me. Yeah, because she probably correctly predicted that people watching the previous episodes of this show probably just like ducked out after about 10 minutes, which would be half the running time of most of the episodes. But apparently, no, this menu's not going to stop me. Just going to break this inhibitor real quick. Oh, okay, so you're still in the reality of the show, even though now we are now outside of the show and in the real world, where there are no inhibitors. But okay, she broke her inhibitor, and now she busted out her own little thing here and is crawling out of the menu. She's looking down around at things. She's climbing out. And she swings down into this assembled thing. Now, if you don't know, and most people probably don't, they have a series called Assembled, which is just these little mini documentaries going behind the scenes of the different Marvel productions. But she's going to swing down into the Assembled show and just crash through. And then suddenly, she's in the real world. She's on the, I guess, Disney backlot or whatever. And she's like on a soundstage. Now, I had thought something like this would have happened far earlier in the series. I had imagined, because in the comic books, there was a couple of scenes where she would have to get from point A to point B in the city, let's say. And she didn't have time. So She-Hulk just walked between comic book panels and was suddenly where she needed to be. I was certain, I was wrong, but I was certain that at some point in this series, to get from one location to the other, she would just walk from the set to the other set and then be at the location and the story would pick up again. I was sure that that would be such a low-hanging fruit joke to put into a show like this that they'd use it. And they never did. This is as close as we get. So anyway, she's on the movie set or the lot of the Disney. There's the Disney water tower. So she's on like Disney Studios. And now she's walking through the real world. And I couldn't help but think of that episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets sucked into the third dimension. Remember that? And he's suddenly like outside in a city walking around. That's what I thought. And you know what? I think the CGI back then was actually better. Anyway, so she's walking down to the She-Hulk production office. All visitors must be escorted at all times, and there's a little QR code there. I wonder what happens if I scan that QR code. I'm guessing it's probably going to be like the first issue of Savage She-Hulk, or maybe Sensational She-Hulk. I'm not sure. Don't know. I'd be curious to find out. I'm sure somebody already has done it. I don't know. Anyway, so she walks in on the writer's room. And we have, these are all the real writers. You know, there's I forget her first name, but her last name's Gao. I think this is an actor. I think that's an actor. I think any men in here are actors because last I heard, the entire writing staff was all females. That was one of their big, like, selling points. Anyway, they got all types of things. Nanobots. In-child something Hulk or in-childable Hulk something day job gamma goo something. Anyway, yeah, so they're talking about the finale. And then She-Hulk walks in. And there's the breaking out the episodes. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. These shows had 3 acts? What? There was an arc in these episodes? Are you sure about that? Okay. Anyway, so then She-Hulk's like, it's me, and writer Jessica. Isn't she supposed to have an inhibitor? Okay, so we're merging the real world and the fictional world now, okay? It's not shocking that She-Hulk just walked in, and this lady's like, hey, is everything okay? And She-Hulk is like, what kind of stupid finale is this? And I have that same question. And they're like, we thought it'd be really cool and, like, unexpected. Uh-huh. The bad guy steals my blood in order to give himself superpowers? Uh-huh. Where did you come up with that original idea? Yeah. I mean, every episode was leading up to it. Okay. You know, I'm just thinking, maybe you should have thought about this before you made all those other episodes. Was that from every other superhero story ever? Yeah. It really is. It's been done many, 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 many times. And, you know, even though it is kind of a trope, it could be done effectively and entertainingly in a show that's supposed to be making something of a joke of superhero stuff, if you ever actually was a superhero or ever, you know, bothered to put any time into it. Thank you, Lissa Leo. Who greenlit this piece of crap show? Well, we're about to find out. At least as far as the show is concerned. And maybe or maybe not is actually telling us who's to blame. I don't know anymore. But let's find out. There are certain things that are supposed to happen in a superhero story, this guy says. Yeah, there are. There's supposed to be a villain, there's supposed to be conflict, there's supposed to be, you know, overcoming something, learning something about yourself, you know, some kind of super science, some kind of intrigue, and usually a big fight at the end. You know, usually. You know, people expect those things from superheroes. I mean, look at Iron Man, right? Look at an origin story like that. The first Iron Man movie. That was a really good superhero movie. Anyway, and then Jen says to the writers, gasps, why don't we just do things our own way? What do you call this entire series? Because if the joke here is this entire series up to this point has just been falling back on superhero tropes, well, it hasn't, because it's not a superhero show. It's a lady complaining about everything show. It's a total victimhood show. It's got somebody who, didn't actually have to go through any hardship to obtain her superpowers. Like, at least in the comic book, Jen Walters is on the verge of death, and Bruce Banner has to make a, instantaneous decision to save her life, but also potentially curse her with being a Hulk. There's actually some conflict there. There's actually some emotional drama taking place, right? And then she has to learn to grow into her superpowers, literally and figuratively. And Bruce has to deal with the guilt of perhaps cursing her for the rest of her life, even if he did save her life. Would a life as a Hulk be any better than simply dying peacefully? He's thought about these things his entire existence as the Hulk because he's Bruce Banner and he's dealt with those. Yeah, there has to be heroism. That's a key part of the phrase superhero. There has to be some example of heroism, of self-sacrifice, of helping out someone else at the risk of your own safety. So when you say, why don't we just do things our own way? You have been. And it's got nothing to do with being a superhero. So I don't know what this is supposed to be commenting on at this point. I have no idea. I'm so confused as to where this is. Anyway, so the writers tell us, well, this is the story that Kevin wants. And the subtitles tell us that Kevin is anagram. Not an anagram, sorry. My brain is gone. Anyway, if you're just listening to the audio, Kevin would just be the name, and you'd think, oh, Kevin Feige. This is the story that Kevin wants. Right? Okay, so, this is Kevin Feige's fault. But we know that it's an abbreviation. Not an abbreviation. The word is suddenly escaping my brain. Not an anagram. Acronym. That's the word I'm looking for. Acronym. Good Lord. Anyway, we know it's an acronym, so already it's ruined for anybody using subtitles. Oh, it's some kind of robot. Okay, well, anyway. So now she's going to go talk to Kevin. I'm going to go talk to Kevin. And they're like, nobody talks to Kevin. You'll never even get close to him. Yeah, I would murder you to protect Kevin. And of course, haha, they're talking about Kevin Feige. Except if you have the subtitles on, you know they're not talking about Kevin Feige. So anyway, so she just kind of walks into the Marvel offices and is like, I want to see Kevin. And he's like, okay, you'll just have to sign our non-disclosure agreement. And then have a seat. And so she pages through this, 17-page non-disclosure agreement to get down to the bottom and sign her name. And then she signs it, I guess, JW. That's not... I wonder if there's any Easter eggs in the text somewhere. I don't know. Don't really care. Anyway, and then he hits the alarm. And she says, why make me sign the NDA if you were going to do that? And he's like, everybody has to sign the NDA. Anyway, and then we get a hallway fight where a diverse group of security guards jump on She-Hulk and try to take her down with, sticks. And amazingly enough, she beats them all. She never has any competition. right? I mean, the most competition she's had in this show was Titania, and somehow Titania falling on her face broke her face, even though she's like super powered. And so She-Hulk didn't actually beat Titania in that case. The only like villain defeating she's done technically was punching Titania out in the first episode, which apparently like she was weak enough to go down with one punch. But yeah, so again, where's the superheroism? Anyway, so She-Hulk gets into the nerve center of Marvel Studios, the MCU, and she's standing there like, oh my god, this is the MCU, and I'm in the MCU. And then this robot comes down. And talk about derivative. Do we GLaDOS much here? Does Valve have some copyright infringement they can go after here? Maybe trademark? I don't know. Anyway, maybe they'll hire She-Hulk to do their trademark case. Anyway, so Kevin, the robot, comes down, and they start having an argument. You could almost call it an existential argument, except it's not. It's more like the writers sitting around thinking that they're being clever. Like, after having seen the writer's room in this show, and obviously after watching the show and knowing that all I'm seeing is the opinions of the writers and not people trying to take on, in the terms of the story, the role of the characters, this is just more writers talking to each other. I'm Kevin. It stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus. Aha. Oh, surprise, surprise, you're not actually Kevin Feige? I had thought it'd be voiced by Kevin Feige. Like, that would be at least something. But as far as I can tell, it's not. And she's like, yeah, why would I expect a giant AI brain and not a man? I don't know. Wait, so you're the one who's making all the decisions here? I will answer your questions, but you must transform back to Jennifer. Why? She asks. You are very expensive. This is the only almost chuckle I had in the entire show. Well, at least this episode. And maybe for the last several episodes. You are very expensive. So transform off camera, please. Yeah, but wait until the camera is off of you. The visual effects team has moved on to another project. This is the only joke in this entire show. And it, again, it almost got a chuckle out of me. Because at least it's self-aware. It is blatantly self-aware, and there's no ambiguity. But that's as close as it came. Holy cats. Thank you, Gay Rascal. I'm late. Was it horrible? Was it unbearable? Oh, we're right in the thick of it. We're right in the thick of it. The whole show, the whole sitting there waiting for some kind of conclusion, rug pulled. Even on a show this bad. But anyway, so she transforms back into Jen to save money on the budget or something. And she's like, better, thank you. Okay, so where are we at? And to answer your question, yes, I make all the decisions. I possess the most advanced entertainment algorithm in the world. Uh-huh. And it produces near-perfect products. Some are better than others. But I leave that debate up to the internet. Well, Kevin, I'm not happy with what's happening in my story. Okay, so why don't you take the reins and assert yourself and use some of your agency? Oh yeah, that's right. You can't do that. You won't do that. You won't take responsibility for your own story, situation, or anything else. So we're going to blame Kevin and then rewrite ourselves out of this predicament. And no, I'm not kidding. Okay, so anyway, he says you do not get to choose because you're a character, right? Why not? It's my show. Uh-huh. Incorrect. It's Kevin's show. Well, regardless of creative ownership, regardless of creative ownership. Let's see, what did she say next? Can we agree that it is a legal comedy? Well, you see, here's the important part of that description. There would have to be something within the show that is grounded, at least tangentially, in the law, even if it is dramatized law, to add that legal part. And then there would have to be humor and laughs and actual jokes for it to be a comedy. So, no and no. But that's just the internet talking. And he says, if that's what you prefer to call it, again, I can't tell if this is just them being self-aware of how terrible they're doing at this or what. But anyway, she says, then I would like to give my closing argument. Your closing argument? The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its big spectacles and high-stakes plot lines. It's true. And in fact, they really need to rein in their high-stakes plot lines until they earn them. You know, I mean, every movie shouldn't be a world-ending event. You're not going to top Infinity War or Endgame without a lot of build-up ahead of time. Otherwise, it makes world-ending events very cheap. That's something that Marvel hasn't learned. But that's just me talking. Anyway, high-stakes plot. Yes, that is what they're known for. Yes. But it's often said that Marvel movies all end the same way. For the most part. Not all of them, but most of them. Yeah, I guess. Kinda, sorta. At least after phase 1 or so. But anyway, perhaps this is a result of following some unwritten rule. And a whole blood thing that seems super suspiciously close, to super soldier serum at the audience in the climax. Yes, the very thinly constructed, overarching plotline conspiracy in this series has been effectively the same subplot of the Incredible Hulk movie. Yes. Yes, it has. And that's your guys' doing. I propose we don't have to do that. Oh, okay, well then, what better writing would you suggest? Since we're in the last episode of a 9-episode series, and we've got all of 10 minutes left until this is over with, at the 11th hour, what do you propose be done to improve on this format that you yourself have been very weakly setting up over the last 8 episodes, filled in with a whole bunch of nonsense that wasn't funny or entertaining? I don't know. What do you propose have happen now? I gotta find the right frame here. I want to make sure I can... It distracts from the story, which is that my life fell apart right when I was learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk. When was that? When exactly was that? Your life fell apart because you broke down one wall. And all of a sudden, all the consequences that should have probably happened to you in episode 2 suddenly befell you. Learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk. Because you had your prom dress. You finally got to wear your prom dress, and that was when you were learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk? Was that it? I thought you wanted people to appreciate you for Jen and not She-Hulk. I thought you spent this entire series avoiding being She-Hulk. I thought you were complaining about the fact that you got a job simply because you are a She-Hulk. But, okay, all of a sudden now, apparently that's what was going on. What is the ending you propose, Kevin says. Well, can we not do Todd gets Hulk powers? Okay, so the entire culmination of the badly constructed supervillain plotline of the whole series just gets deleted? Like, the powers aren't the villain, he is. Well, golly gee whiz, you're right. If only some time had been spent actually building him up as an actual villain, instead of just some weird side character. But yeah, he is the villain. You're right. The powers aren't the villain. The powers were never the villain. I mean, Blonsky has the powers. You didn't make him a villain. You have the powers. That didn't make you a villain. What lesson is that? Nobody was vilifying the powers. It's how you use powers. You are self-aware of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you don't know Spider-Man's catchphrase? We all know that. What do you... Huh? Anyway. So she wants to erase the blood plot. So he does. And literally on the screen, Hulk Todd turns back into regular Todd. And Bruce swooping down from literal outer space to save the day in my story? Yeah, guys, isn't that terrible? It's my story. He's saving the day in my story? But Bruce is supposed to return to explain what he was doing. No, we don't need to hear any of that. This is my story. Save it for the movie. Oh, there's a movie coming? Recalculating and Abomination? I forget exactly what is supposed to be said here. After all that, I just want him to hold himself accountable. Well, he doesn't have to hold himself accountable. He violated the terms of his parole. He's going back to super prison. But, okay, what would that look like? What? And Kevin's like, okay, because he's probably about as confused as I am. And let's do this big climax in daylight. Are we done here? Says Kevin. Oh, would not mind seeing Daredevil again. A woman has needs. And Kevin says, historically, we've been light in that department. A woman having needs? Oh, while I've got you here... Oh, wait, you are sitting? We got Tony Stark, daddy issues. Thor, daddy issues. Loki, same daddy, same issues. Star-Lord, 2 daddies, 2 issues. And when are we getting the X-Men? I cannot tell you that. Okay, back to She-Hulk. I have thoughts about Season 2's direction. I don't. I don't even know where this could go, since it didn't go anywhere. They literally erased the entire plot line. And he says, no, you will not be able to access Kevin again. This is a plot device we're not going to revisit, apparently. That's it. We're done. That's it. We just deleted the entire ending of your show. And she says, well, we smash things. Bruce smashes buildings. I smash fourth walls and bad endings. I smash fourth walls and bad endings.
What? What is that? What the fuck is that?
You have no ending. We, those of us that watched this series, sat through the entire show for nothing. Because at literally the last minute, the writers were like, I don't know what to do. I'm out of ideas. Let's just make the whole thing, I guess, a gag on the audience. I suppose. Like, people who are actually watching this show and enjoying it for some reason, there's not even the satisfaction of a conclusion. There's just, we don't know what we're doing. So let's just throw everything at the wall and delete the things we can't figure out. And yeah. Oh, but isn't that a commentary on the whole superhero genre, Scribe? Isn't that just part of the gag? I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm not sure. I don't even know what they're talking about. Anyway, and she's like, what's the most budget-friendly way to get out of this scene? And they just cut to the location. And so Titania's on social media saying, hey, Titaniacs. I guess her face healed up, but none of that really matters. And so then Jen comes out as She-Hulk, even though she's supposed to have an inhibitor on because that's what's put on because of the Supermax prison, but doesn't matter anymore, I guess. And she's stalking up towards Todd. And she's like, we're about to witness a murder. He says, now I'm ready to deal with you. Dun dun dun. She turns back into Jen. And she's like, I'm gonna sue you. Yeah, I'm gonna hold you accountable. I'm gonna sue you. I'll see you in court. Mofo. And then the cops take him away. Just him, I guess. And then Daredevil shows up. In broad daylight. Because who cares? None of this matters anymore. Hey, Daredevil, you missed it. It was great, though, and I'm happy to see you. Oh, I forgot. Can I find that part? I forgot that part. She says, you know, Hulk smashes walls. I smash bad endings. And then she looks at the camera and says, and Daredevil. Remember Daredevil and her? Yeah, they had sex. In case you forgot. Unfortunately. I feel really bad for Charlie Cox. I'm sure he's all, you know, in good fun and everything. I feel bad for Charlie Cox that he had to bring his character and his decidedly marketable abilities in acting to this show and to this dialogue and to these scenes. And Pug's like, oh my god, did they hook up? Are they a thing? Yeah, just take it down a notch, Pug. What? Pug, take it down a notch? Have you watched your character in this thing, or is that... Oh my god, how long was I offline? How long was I offline? It crashed, StreamYard crashed, and it didn't even tell me. Oh my god, was it... Oh no. Oh guys, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was focused so much on going through the show, I didn't even know. Oh no. 10 minutes? I can't tell you how ticked off that makes me. I can't tell you how ticked off that makes me. I was kicked out of StreamYard for some reason. Didn't know it. Don't have any way to tell that on this one tab. I apologize, guys. I apologize. Yeah, no, this is all me. This is all me. I got so engrossed in talking about the show that I didn't even notice. Okay, well, this is awkward. Can I recreate the last 10 minutes? And can I edit this out later? Maybe. I don't know. Good gravy. Good gravy. Okay, well, I will attempt to recover from this. I don't know if I can, and I apologize to you guys for that. That was completely outside of my control, obviously. Where did I leave off? Let me know where I left off. Oh, good gravy. And I will try to recreate this, and I'll try to edit out that blank spot after the show's over with. I think I can do that now on YouTube. I think that's possible. So 6 minutes or so. 6 minutes. You cut out right when you're discussing Daredevil. Okay. All right. Was that Daredevil at the family dinner, or was that Daredevil like right here in the show? That kind of thing? Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah, sorry guys. That's terrible. Okay, well anyway, I'll try to back up here if I can. Walter's talking to Daryl, Pug Other Care talking about them being a thing. Okay, gotcha. All right, well anyway, so yeah, they were a thing. He's like, did they hook up? Are they a thing? And Nikki tells Pug to settle down, which is just amazing. Take it down a notch, Pug. Because that makes all the sense in the world. Thank you, Pumpkin Hawk, for the keep it up pair. Well, I appreciate that, Pumpkin Hawk. And again, I'm embarrassed and I apologize, guys, for that. I got to have a way to monitor. I don't know how I can monitor that. This is why I need a co-host, because somebody could tell me and I'd know it right off the bat. Anyway, so then Titania is just, I guess, she just gets away or goes or something. Anyway, so then Blonsky is having to sign a paper saying that, yeah, he violated his parole. He says, if you sign this, you go back to prison for 10 years for parole violation, which he should. And he does. So there's that, I guess. And then we cut to family lunch with Daredevil. I mean, Matt Murdock, because, you know, nobody there knows one from the other, I guess. And Ched, remember Ched? Yeah, why shouldn't I have my own currency? I think they're talking about Bitcoin or something. I don't know. Anyway, Dad's like, now Matt, Jen tells me you have your own practice. And he's like, yeah. And Mom's like, hear that, Rebecca? His own practice. Oh, okay. Because it's all showing off and everything. And he's like, yeah, it's in Hell's Kitchen. And they're like, Hell's Kitchen doesn't sound like a very nice place. And he says, well, it's not glamorous, but I grew up there. I always wanted to help those who can't afford legal services. You know, somebody who is willing to make a self-sacrifice for the betterment of others. To help people who can't help themselves. You know, and with no expectation of return. You know, a hero. What's been missing from this show? Heroism. And thankfully, even slightly, even the writers can't avoid the inherent heroism of the character of Matt Murdock. And so we're reminded very briefly, very, very briefly, about what a real hero is. Isn't that nice? And so then Rebecca says, so you don't make much money. And they're all like, what? And she's like, Aunt Rebecca, you don't ask people how much money they make. Uh-huh. But, and he says, it's fine, I don't do it for the money. Right, because Matt Murdock is, at his heart, a hero. A relatively, you know, I mean, everybody's flawed, but a relatively selfless person. And then Dad says, but you do make some money, right? And they start talking to Matt like, well, how long are you staying in L.A.? And, you know, it's expensive raising kids in L.A. And they're like, And he's like, I'm really just visiting. I'm not marrying your daughter. I'm not going to be a breadwinner for you. And so they finally break that little thing up a little bit. And then Matt's like, Jen, I could use some co-counsel here. He needs to be saved from her father, who's apparently concerned with the financial situation of this guy he just met. Anyway, who just like said like, anyway, then the Hulk shows up. Remember the Hulk? Yeah, there's the Hulk. Am I still on the air? I am still on the air. I have to check this now. Okay, so the Hulk shows up, and he's like, yeah, I just got back from Sakaar, and I have something I have to share with you guys. And also notice the Hulk is only shown from the chest up, and there's plenty of headroom because, you know, we have a budget to stick to. I know I've been away on Sakaar for a while. Uh-huh. But first, I have someone here that I'd like you all to meet. Now just check out the periphery here. All right, check out the Hulk. The Hulk is standing there, right? The Hulk. And then appearing out of CGI nowhere, this is my son, Scar. So he was just like hiding back behind the Hulk's shoulder in front of this fern. He just arrived without anybody noticing. But anyway, yeah, Scar. Do you guys know who Scar is? Okay, well, here's the thing. Scar is an entire movie's worth of storyline and plot all by himself. Hell, probably 2 movies. Okay? It's very complicated. I couldn't relay it to you here if I tried. But it is a whole thing. All right? And they just drop him in here like nothing. I can only assume that this scene is effectively the culmination of some other movie, except that there's no Incredible Hulk movie in the cards for the near future. And I'm not even sure if Marvel has the rights to make a Hulk movie, because here's the thing, little known fact, the reason you haven't seen a standalone Incredible Hulk movie of any kind since the first one with Ed Norton is because Universal Studios, through a very complicated series of events, owns the rights to a Hulk standalone movie. Marvel can use the Hulk as effectively a glorified cameo in a team movie or in other places. He can't be the lone star of any particular production. Only Universal Studios has the rights to do that. So if Marvel were to want to make that movie, they'd have to go through Universal Studios, and there's a whole, profit sharing thing, and they don't want to do that. And that's why they haven't done that in years. Also, probably because they have no idea what to do with their version of the Hulk at this point, since they've completely dumbed him down to nothing. But anyway, will there be a Hulk-centered movie that explains where Scar came from, who his mother is, how the heck he is the age that he is, given that not that much time has passed since Hulk was on Sakaar? I don't know. But it was kind of a really lame twist surprise to bring in at the end here. And also, Scar has no dialogue. He's just a CGI stand-in from the chest up. And do we discuss that any further? Is there anything else about it? No. It's just back to the city. Or right back to LA. Okay, well, I guess that happened. Anyway, so we have a news reporter out in front of the courthouse. She-Hulk, the super-powered woman, cousin of the Hulk. Super-powered woman, cousin of the Hulk. Yeah, remember, we call everybody females. Remember, she's female, guys. She-Hulk, the woman. What is a woman? Anyway, is cleared of her previous conviction. Conviction of what? The DA didn't file any charges. She had an inhibitor put on her ankle, and she wasn't even put on house arrest. What charges? What conviction? She wasn't convicted of anything. She's put in a holding cell for like a day, and then she was let out. And the DA didn't file any charges. That's what we're told. What? Anyway, she was cleared of her previous conviction. Whatever that means. Can you share details about your lawsuit against Todd Phelps and Intelligentsia? People like Todd Phelps have to be held responsible for their actions. Unlike me, who destroys half a city block, tears up somebody's car, and doesn't even get jail time. Because reasons. The message is, if you attack, harm, or harass innocent people, I'm coming for you. Or for Daredevil, as the case may be. I guess. So anyway, and tell our viewers, who are you wearing today? And she just like shrugs it off and walks away. The difficult diva of law herself. And that's it. That's the show. That's where it ends. The whole thing. That's it. There is an after credits scene. It's Blonsky in his cell. And he says, you took your time, and it's Wong. He's like, Emil, my apologies for the delay. Oh, okay, so this prison break was expected. And the Supermax prison, who is aware of Wong's tendency to break Emil Blonsky out of the prison, isn't monitoring Blonsky's cell for this very occurrence. Okay, well anyway. And then Emil says, you got sucked in another show, didn't you? I think the actual line is sucked into another show. I think that the subtitles are off here because that could have a completely different connotation, the way I just read it. But hey, go Wong, I guess. We really are in an era of peak TV. Yeah, the more Wong we have, the better we all are. You have all of your things, yes. What's the guest policy at Karmatage? We're kind of all one with everything. What about Wi-Fi? We have Wi-Fi. The end. So there you go. That's She-Hulk. That's the series. That's the finale. That's how they decided to end it. With nonsense and ha-ha, jokes on you. This wasn't a story you had to pay attention to. It's all about accountability, but never mind anything that I've done. None of the plot lines make any sense. None of the setup matters. There you go. That just like the comic books, guys. Man, if you go back to that original She-Hulk run, Sensational She-Hulk John Byrne was doing, yeah, it's exactly as that went. Yeah, every issue was exactly like that. The story didn't matter. There was no setup. Everything that was established was completely forgotten, and the fourth wall breaks were, they were totally unfunny and not relevant at all to anything. Anyway, I'm going to end that here, guys. I apologize for the technical difficulties. For those of you in the future who are listening to this and have no idea what I'm talking about, it's probably because I successfully edited that part out. But yeah, there you go. I got to go do other things. I didn't expect to be on here this long, but it's the finale, so I had to give it its due. So anyway, everyone, thank you so much for sticking with me, even through the folly of StreamYard. If you'd like to hear more from me, and hopefully I won't be kicked out then either, you can find me tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of TED Excellence. And what is tonight's episode? Why, it is Why Gender Matters in Climate Change. We're going to find out why gender matters in climate change. I can't wait. Can you? Well, you have to, because it's hours from now. Everybody, thank you again for joining me. Thank you for sticking around. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Hope you have a good rest of your week. I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.